Hello, I'm Katerina from Querix. On this beautiful day, I am happy to have an interview with Ricardo Garcia, the Managing Director of Insight Software Solutions Limited, and the Chief Project Architect of Neo Digital Limited.
Hello, I'm Ricky.
We are going to talk about 4GL through the years, about the unique experiences and persistence that span for decades, and about turning a green screen app into a modern, cloud-based application with virtually limitless extensions to its functionality. Thank you for attending this meeting, Ricky.
Thank you for accommodating me.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been programming since the age of 20, that's for 43 years now. I started as a programmer when IBM PCs were coming out, so I kinda rode that PC wave. Back then we focused on whatever available languages there were at a time, pretty much like BASIC, COBOL, etc. I started using C, and developed point of sales and back-end systems, and started working with the finance. Around about 1989 I got involved with Unix, and in 1990 the company that I was working for at the time became a distributor for Informix. In 1991 I went to 4Gen in Seattle to learn the case tools that they had created for Informix. It was quite a unique company with some pretty brilliant guys. What they did was that they took 4GL and they wrote both a form painter and a code generator in 4GL itself. Around 1993 I went to the board of the company I was working for and I offered to go towards vertical applications. The board didn't agree with me, so I left and I formed my own company, InSync Software, and we started to make insurance applications. Pretty much everything was running on Unix, and I worked with pretty much every flavor of Unix. Around mid-90s there was a resurgence of Windows NT operating system, and everybody was moving to that. I've never been a fan of Windows, and everybody was asking for NT ports. Around 96-97 the set of commercial versions of Linux was released, and so we've been developing Informix applications on Linux, very strong, very robust, very large applications, since 1997. In mid-2000s I also started to look at modernization tools, one of which was Querix, till maybe 2008 or so. And I considered moving as everyone has moved to the graphical environment, etc. But my applications are so big and so functional that they sold without graphical environments. I mean, up to a couple years ago we were still selling the green screen applications because of the depth of the business processes in them. The concept in Insight is that everything has to be completely table driven, and everything wraps up into a general ledger system so it encompasses the business processes of your entire company. There should be no satellite applications, and everything is integrated. It started to emerge around about 2013 or 2014 that even though the applications were very functional, people wanted modernized applications. I think about 2018 we have engaged with Querix. We've done some sort of a preliminary testing, etc. Around 2021 we decided to commit because we got a big contract with one of our customers. They wanted a green screen application that I had designed, modernized and implemented.
How more than 30 years of experience in the insurance sector working with important clients has made your product what it is?
Well, it was a long journey. The general insurance in itself is very complex in terms of the relationships between the different entities of the business. For example, at the bottom tier is the client. The client then can have multiple policies. Each of the policies has what we call multiple risks, and the risks can be of many types. A policy can be a motor policy, and it can have one or multiple vehicles attached to it. Property can have one or multiple properties attached, liabilities, bonds, etc.
A very complex system indeed.
Yes. And to work through it, you'd have to gather an enormous amount of knowledge of the industry itself, and to build a product, you have to get a transfer of knowledge from, experienced insurance technicians. Layered onto that is the complexity of the whole process of underwriting, which is essentially very large. The other side of it is the claims processing, which is a promise of pay. Therefore, the claims processing is settling claims and honoring that promise. It is very complex in terms of how claims are adjudicated and settled, and the amounts agreed on between the insurance company and the client. And that's a whole other dimension. The other side of it is that a policy could have what we call co-insurance, and the co-insurance associated with it would mean that the risk would be broken up among multiple joint insurance companies. Then there's the reinsurance aspect of it, and the insurance accounting, which is very complex as well, and the new IFRS 7 regulations. Again, it all is extremely complex.
Wow, I imagine that's a truly massive set of knowledge.
Our path to what we've created was basically a painstaking process of gathering, understanding, learning, and pretty much having the same knowledge as the insurance. There was no way other than rolling up our sleeves, and digging deep, and learning each aspect of the business. Now our product is fully integrated into the GL. It truly took a long while. I would say like 30 or more years to gather that and to create the products even in the green screen environment.
What was the situation in your project and business prior to the digital transformation?
I had a number of clients in the Caribbean and they were all running the green screen inside and were pretty much very happy with it. Because it did their jobs. It enraptured the functionality of their companies, and, running on an Informix Linux environment, it was extremely stable. So, the clients pretty much were very happy with it. However, we did see the need for transformation.
What issues or challenges did you face when you were using the old technologies?
There were a lot. Given that it was running on bare metal servers, we always did need some form of administrator. The companies needed an administrator and the technologies for things that were considered modern, in terms of getting reports in a specific fashion, rich documents like PDFs etc. We had to merge the open source technology which are, for example, FOP and XCSL technologies, to get the type of reports that we needed. So we had our applications write XML, and we would ingest the XML into a fork to produce PDFs. We merged the technology, and it was quite successful. Then, for all the reporting, instead of writing reports for paper, we created reports in the form of tab-delimited files with an XLS extension. Other challenges were the things like integrating into websites for payments processing, like that. We had to build externally and have it integrated. So while there was full functionality for the clients in terms of their daily processing etc., the real issue was how do we leverage the years of code that speaks to the guts of the application with newer technologies. And that's obviously when we made the decision to move that way, the way of transformation.
Did you consider a full project rewriting, say in another language?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It would be almost impossible to begin to rewrite that in some sort of modern language. The core of Insight and its environment is huge. There's the insurance product, which is massive by itself, the finance product which is very large as there are loans, and foreign exchange, and mutual funds, and stuff like that. And then we have a brokerage product. We also have a full distribution product which is a point of sale, inventory, distribution, receivables, payables etc. I think in total they must have somewhere like 24-25 million lines of code. I mean, a lot of it was made with the 4gen code generator, which was one of the early code generators that used the Informix 4GL language. The costs of rewriting that would be extreme. So it was not even considered. The sheer volume, the functionality, and then the functionality that we had embedded was tried, and chewed, and tested, and debugged etc. To rewrite, you'd have to go through that same process, and actually there was a paper on your website that spoke to that directly. So there was no consideration at all to have it rewritten.
Why did you opt for Lycia?
I looked around, and I've been contemplating making this change for I guess maybe a better part of a decade or so. The 4GL language, as you know, is very robust and capable, and we've had the decades of code that's specific to these verticals that we write products for. There were two options for us to at least save the volume of years of code written in Informix 4GL. I looked at both, and from my investigations, as I said, I've been a long time in the business, it seemed to me that Querix was really committing to the cloud technologies. I explored the technology and I looked at some of the philosophy. That paper posted on your website was about the real challenges of moving or rewriting applications in modern languages. And it was very well written, and I think I shared it with a number of clients. It highlighted to me that Lycia environment and the originators of Lycia had real-world experience in this. So I think I made the decision right there and then.
What was your plan for digital transformation prior to its actual beginning?
Well, we actually got a contract with one of our clients. They were one of the first and we decided to just pretty much jump right in. What I did was I wrote the base code in green screen with 4gen and the logic etc. Together with Hubert and Alex we actually made a miracle happen. We were awarded the project sometime I think in the beginning of December 2021, and the application was production ready and launched by the end of the month. That to me was amazing. But it was not a massive application and it was using pure Lycia 4GL, it was not using low code as such.
What aspects of your project underwent the digital transformation?
Pretty much our whole code base, there's no choice. I mean the application is fully integrated. You can't have one without the other. The look and feel were very, very important to us. So we stabilized on that with the initial Lycia offering, and then Ali came to me and told me that you guys were moving towards the low-code development, and that we should look at what became Lycia low-code for the actual Insight applications.
What was your experience during the actual transformation?
I think the technology is very good, it's very open, it's very functional. One of the great thing about working with Querix tools is that you can change the environment to give it more flexibility, change the framework. Thanks to that, we have that flexibility to get it without resorting to C code or something that the framework didn't think of. We're completely unfettered. The experience was not without its challenges. As I've said, we have massive applications with hundreds of programs, lots of hundreds of tables. A lot had to be done to accommodate this type of monster system. It took a while, and we worked together with you because there's no better proof of a solution like that than to put it to use with a commercial application. I'm very happy working with Querix, the company of wonderful, incredible talent. You guys always find a way to make things work.
Watch the continuation of this interview soon on our website, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on our YouTube channel.